Hello, my dear students. Good morning. I hope everybody is doing great. Right. So, how many people? I have, I think, 9 of you.
Good
No,
morning,
10 of
sir.
you. Ah, good
Good morning,
morning. Good
sir.
morning. Right. Okay. So, let me share my screen. We'll straight away start. People, are you hearing any background noise?
No, sir.
No, right? Great. So this is 11th, 24th October. No, yeah, correct. Okay. So last class, people, we have completed your isomerism completely. Okay. And then we went on to see this. This is the second part of general organic chemistry. That is your reaction mechanisms, or say how whatever the inside the post-mortem of all the reactions. That's what we're going to see. Right. So if you can remember the flow chart, right? I had something called as substrates, right? And these are attacked by something called as reagents, and they both will react together. In the middle of the reaction, you will form something called as intermediates, right? And these intermediates are unstable. Okay, so they will eventually gain something or lose something to form the final products. So this is the general mechanism of any organic reaction for that matter. Right, general. When I say mechanism, I am going inside the reaction and look at exactly what is happening. That is what we mean by mechanism of the reaction. Okay, we yesterday studied about reagents. What are all the different reagents I can have? Oxidizing agents, reducing agents, base, acid, electrophiles, nucleophiles. What are their types? Right, all these things we saw last class. Okay, hope you all remember. Okay, now we are going to study about the intermediates. Right, now intermediates, as I told you, right, intermediates, as I told you, is coming into the picture because during a reaction a bond is breaking and a bond is getting formed. Okay, either bond breaking or a bond formation happens in somewhere in between. That is where I have my intermediates. Okay, so for us to understand what kind of intermediates, what are the other things you have to study about intermediates, we have to understand what kind of bond cleavage, or we I think call it as bond fission or bond breaking. Right? What kind of bond cleavage or bond breaking or bond fission can happen in organic chemistry? Right? There can be two possibilities, people. Right? One is what is called as homolytic cleavage. The other one is what is called as heterolytic cleavage. I think this is where we stopped last class. Okay, homolytic bond fission or homolytic bond cleavage, or say heterolytic bond fission or heterolytic bond cleavage. We're talking about breaking of bonds, how the bond is going to break. That is what you're trying to see. Okay, so let us understand what do you mean by a homolytic cleavage. Okay, right, now let us take an example. Okay, let us take an example of methyl chloride. Okay, CH3Cl. Okay, now say if I put OH minus, I think we saw last class, I'm going to have a nucleophilic substitution. Do not remember anything. All you have to understand is I'm going to form CH3OH plus Cl minus is coming out. Okay, don't forget about this, right? Anyways, you're not going to worry about the reaction. Okay, so now what you understand is the CCl bond is breaking. Correct? Right? I understand that the CCl bond is breaking and COH bond is getting formed during the reaction. Don't worry about the product side. Now we are considering only about how a bond is breaking. Okay. Now people, now we know that, say I write CH3CCl. Okay. Now I understand that in this particular bond which I'm mentioning, there is a covalent bond, right? That means one electron will come from one carbon, another electron is going to come from another carbon. All right. Now I have to break the bond. In case of homolytic cleavage, I am going to break the bond in such a way that wherever the electron came from, the electron is going to go back to its original atom. Again, I repeat, In case of homolytic cleavage, I am going to break the bond in such a way that wherever the electron came from, basically this electron came from carbon, this electron came from chlorine, right? So these electrons are going to go back to their original atoms. Okay, so now how do I represent it? Right, remember, homolytic cleavage is always represented by an half arrow. Okay, homolytic cleavage is always represented by an half arrow. How do I tell it? How do I represent it? This is how I represent. This is one half arrow. This is another half arrow. Okay, one half arrow, another half arrow. What do you mean by this? This electron is going to this carbon. This electron is going to this carbon. Basically, the covalent bond is broken. Okay, the covalent bond is broken through a heterolytic cleavage. So I represent with a half arrow. Wherever the electron came from, they are going to go back to their original parent atoms. Okay, now when this happens, people, when this happens, what will you have? You will have H3C, a single unpaired electron like this. One dot. I can even represent it as CH3 dot. Okay, now what is this telling you? There was a bond that underwent heterolytic cleavage where the carbon got back its own electron. Okay, this is how we represent it. Okay, now obviously what would have been remaining is a Cl, obviously with all its electron, and one single unpaired electron with a dot. That is your electron. Okay, guys, these kind of species are what are called as free radicals. Okay, these are the species which are called as free radicals. So free radicals are the one which have single unpaired electrons in their valence shell. You see that this particular electron which is there in the carbon valence shell is not getting paired. One unpaired. One electron is not paired at all. Same way, if I look at this one, I see that there is an electron in chlorine which is not paired, which is not a lone pair, it is just there. So again, I'm going to call this as chlorine free radical. Okay, and this I will call it as methyl free radical. Okay, whenever a homolytic cleavage happens, people, there can be only one possibility. The possibility is formation of free radicals. Right? What are free radicals? Free radicals are the species will have single unpaired electrons in their valence shells. Okay, hope you all understood what do you mean by a homolytic cleavage. Homolytic cleavage means the electron where it came from, it will go back to its original parent atom. You will always end up with free radicals. Any questions?
Sir, how is the half arrow represented again?
Yeah, sure. Right, say I have this CCl bond. Okay, half arrow means generally full arrow means like this we could keep, right? Half arrow means only one side will keep this thing, other side will not be there. So this will go like this, half arrow, another half arrow. That means this electron and this electron goes here and this electron goes here. This you don't have to represent. Okay, this what I'm representing, you don't have to represent. The correct representation only to be thus that CCl homolytic cleavage half arrow to form C dot plus Cl dot. Both are free radicals.
Okay,
yes?
Sir.
Okay, any other question anybody has regarding homolytic cleavage? Right, now at what condition homolytic cleavage happens, at what condition heterolytic cleavage happens, depends on the reaction. Okay, we will see what are the conditions later. For now, did you understand homolytic cleavage? A bond breaking such that the electron will go to its parent atoms. That's it, a covalent bond is broken. Okay, fine. Now, what about heterolytic cleavage? Okay, now please understand, for heterolytic cleavage, let me write the topic. Okay, now when you have a heterolytic cleavage, right, last time what we did, we equally put the electron. Wherever the electron came from, it went back to its original position, right? But in this case, people, I am going to break the bond in such a way that two electrons which are there in the bond will go to one atom. Okay, the heterolytic cleavage is going to be in such a way that there are two electrons in a bond and both the electrons I'm going to give it to one atom. How do I do this? Very simple. Now again, I'll take the case of CH3Cl. Okay, CH3Cl. Now you see that there are two electrons, right? Now I am going to give both the electrons to one of the atom, either the carbon atom or the chlorine atom. Now, to which atom it will give? To which atom I will give? This atom is the more electronegative atom. Right? Which atom will take up the electron will depend on which atom is more electronegative. In this case, I obviously know chlorine is more electronegative. Okay. Now, in this case, people, you have to use a full arrow. You have to use a full arrow. Last time you used half arrow. Here you have to use full arrow. And how do I put it? You will start with the bond. In the middle of the bond, you start and you put it towards chlorine. Now, I'm breaking the bond such a way that both the electrons are going to go to chlorine. I hope you get it. Like last time, one electron here, one electron here. This time, both the electrons are going to go to more electronegative atom. That is my chlorine. Right? Now, what will happen if this continues? Now, you see that this electron, right? This electron, which is involving to carbon, right? Now, that carbon has lost one electron. Okay? Now, this chlorine, this basically this particular, right? Say I'll write this particular electron belongs to chlorine. If this goes, no problem, right? But if it takes anything extra, that is, it is taking up carbon's electron also, so it will now become a negative charge. So what will happen is you would have formed a carbon which is having a positive charge, and obviously Cl minus would have been formed. Okay, right, people. Now you understand that whenever you see carbon having a positive charge, those kind of species are what are called as carbocations. Very important. Okay, whenever you see carbon having the positive, I know cations are positively charged. Carbocation means carbon having the positive charge. Okay, so this is CH3 plus and Cl minus. Okay, in this case, you are seeing that the heterolytic cleavage is happening in such a way that both the electrons are going to go to chlorine. That is why chlorine is getting the negative charge, carbon is losing the electron, so it is going to have a positive charge. All right, there can be other possibility. In this case, chlorine took up the electron. In some other case, say carbon can take up the electron. Let me take another case, right? Say, let me have, say, assume that I have CH4, okay? Say CH bond, I have other three atoms, whatever atoms. Okay, now I'm going for heterolytic cleavage, right? Now, how should I put the arrow mark? I should put the arrow mark towards the more electronegative atom. That means what? Both the electrons which are shared here are going to go to one of the atom, and definitely it cannot be hydrogen because carbon is more electronegative. So I will put the full arrow mark like this. I will break the bond such a way that both these electrons are going to go to carbon. Okay. Now, what will happen now? Hydrogen had one electron which is getting shared. The hydrogen is losing its electron. So definitely it will come out as H plus. Right. Now, carbon had already one electron. Now it is taking up hydrogen's electron also. Now carbon will form, I already have 3 bonds. Carbon would have formed a negative charge. Okay. Now, whenever you see carbon having a negative charge, those kind of species are what are called as carbanions. Okay. Those kind of species are what are called as carbanions. Carbon possessing an anion, that is a negative charge. Okay. Right. So whenever a heterolytic cleavage happens, people, you will always end up with charged species, right? Because obviously both the electrons are going to go to one of the atoms. Definitely you will end up with a positive charge and a negative charge. Okay. Now, depending on which atom loses electron and which atom accepts electron, you will give positive and negative accordingly. In this case, the first case, chlorine is taking up the electron, so negative charge. Carbon is losing the electron, so positive charge. Same way here, carbon is taking up electrons, so negative charge. Hydrogen is losing electrons, so positive charge. Okay. Now, again repeating, whenever carbon has a positive charge, it's called carbocation. Whenever carbon has a negative charge, it is going to be called as a carbanion. Any question anybody has? How you use the full arrow, what direction you should point it towards, everything should be very careful. The arrow shootings in organic chemistry is very important. We will use this arrow mark so many times. Okay. Did you understand?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, is there any other atom to which if CH3 like shares a bond and then the bond is broken, then carbanions are formed?
Yeah. Why not? Like carbanion, possible. Like here you see carbanion, right? Say if I have any electronegative atom, if I can tell you, say if I had, but most probably, okay, most probably if you want to form a carbanion, mostly it will be only CH bond broken. Okay, mostly 99% of cases. Okay, yeah, but I'm not able to get anything which other than hydrogen. If I have any other atom, carbanion, don't worry about it. Okay, all you have to understand is if carbon takes up the electron in the heterolytic cleavage, it will form a carbanion. If carbon loses the electron in heterolytic cleavage, it is going to form a carbocation. That is all you have to understand. Okay, mostly the carbanion formation will happen only with CH bond, right? And carbocation formation can have with any carbon with an electronegative atom. Generally, this will take up the electron. Okay, right? Is your question answered?
Yes,
Not
sir.
exactly, but still, right? You don't have to worry about what are the other atoms which can have here. No problem. Don't worry about it. Okay, now we can conclude certain things now. Right, what we can conclude is when I have homolytic cleavage, the only possibility is free radicals. Right, but when I have heterolytic cleavage happening, there can be two possibilities. I'm talking with respect to carbon only. Okay, I'm talking with respect to carbon only. So they can be carbocations if carbon loses electrons, or it can be a carbanion if carbon gains electron. Okay, right? Carbon losing electron, carbocation, carbon gaining electron, carbanion. Right, so homolytic cleavage have only one possibility, free radicals. Heterolytic cleavage has two possibilities, carbocations and carbanions. Okay, other thing doesn't matter. We're talking only with respect to carbon here. Okay, fine. Now people, right, now let me give you a thing, right? How are we going to use this? We're talking about intermediates. Okay, obviously none of these are stable. Okay, none of these free radical, carbocations, carbanions, all are unstable, no doubt about it. That is why they're intermediate. They're not products, right? Eventually they will gain something or lose something to give the final product. Okay, right. So now let me give you insight. Let me give you an example so that you will understand what is the importance. Why are even studying these free radicals, carbocations, carbanions, and all of this stuff? Okay, right. People, I have CH2 double bond CH3. Okay, right. Now I add HCl to this. Okay, I add HCl to this. Now it's a normal addition reaction. I know I'm going to break the pi bond. I'm going to break the pi bond. Again, when you say breaking the pi bond, you must ask me how. Homolytic cleavage or heterolytic cleavage. We'll see that later. Okay, now, so you will see that the H is going to add to one atom. There is one carbon atom. Cl is going to add to another carbon atom. So can I write it like this? CH2, H, CH, Cl, CH3. No problem. Now, why am I choosing only this? I can choose the other way around also. Chlorine can go to this carbon. Hydrogen can go to this carbon. I can write CH2, Cl, CH, H, CH3. Two possibilities are there, right? Depending which chlorine will go to first or second. Again, hydrogen will go to first or second. Two possibilities, right? Now, people, I found out if I do this experiment, right? If I take this compound and I do this experiment, I found that almost 80% of product is this only, and only 20% of the product is this compound. I would say whenever you find something in majority, I will call them as major product, right? And whichever is formed in lesser amount is what is called as minor products. Okay, right. Now we have to understand why is it happening like this. This is where the mechanism of the reaction is going to be very, 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 very helpful. Okay, right. Now please understand, people, these kind of reactions are what are called as electrophilic addition reaction. Now we know what is an electrophile. Electrophile, which is what is an electrophile, people? What is an electrophile?
Electron attracted.
They are attracted to electrons, or say they are attracted to negative charges. So there should be
electron deficiency.
or positively charged. Is it not? They should have deficit of electron. Obviously, deficit of electron can be of two types. One, excuse me. Right. So one will be in the form of Lewis acids. You can, I hope you remember from last class. Lewis acids have deficiency of electrons, so they can act as nucleophiles, or any other positive charge can act as electrophile. Okay, right. Now, I think my charging is less. Okay, it's fine. Right. Fine. Now I'm telling you that this is an electrophilic addition. Okay, but people say if I had CH3, C double bond O and a H, what is the functional group here, people? What is this functional group? CH3, C double bond O H. What is this functional group?
Aldehyde.
Aldehyde. Again, you see, please do not forget C double bond O with one hydrogen. Again, anything. This one is CHO, aldehyde. If I had both side carbon, then it becomes a ketone. In this case, it's an aldehyde. Anyways, doesn't matter. Okay, now let me write this again. C double bond O H. Okay, now to this, okay, I add HCN. Okay, cyanic acid. Right now, here the product, you know what will form? Now, again, you see that there is a pi bond, right? Okay, now the pi bond will break. One carbon will get something, the other oxygen is going to get something else. Okay, so you will see that I am going to form OH, oxygen will take up the H, and carbon will take the Cl, right, to form this particular compound. Do not remember anything, literally nothing you have to remember whatever I'm writing now, either in this reaction or nor in this reaction, nothing you have to remember. Okay, now these kind of reactions are what are called as nucleophilic addition. Both are addition reaction. C double bond O, pi bond breaking, adding H and Cl, addition reaction. In this case, C double bond C is broken, adding H and Cl, addition reaction. But one is called as an electrophilic addition, the other one is called as a nucleophilic addition. What is the difference between these two? People, both are addition reactions only. Now, in both the cases, you are seeing electrophile and a nucleophile. H plus, Cn minus. Here what you have, H plus, Cl minus, positive, negative, positive, negative. Both of them have both these reactions. I have a nucleophile, I have an electrophile. Right? Okay, but why am I calling it as electrophilic addition in one case? Both are addition reaction, both are having H and H plus and other anion, but other one is what is called as nucleophilic addition. Okay, what you have to understand is, people, which attacks first? Okay, if the answer to this question, if it is the electrophile which attacks first, then it is going to be called as electrophilic addition reaction. And the answer to this question, if it is the nucleophile is attacking first, then I'll call this as nucleophilic addition reaction. Okay, in both the cases, you are having electrophile and nucleophile, H plus Cl minus, H plus Cn minus cyanide, right? But in the mechanism, if you check and if you see, the first thing which is attacking the compound substrate, right? If the substrate is attacked by the electrophile first, then it is going to be called as electrophilic addition, right? And if you check in the mechanism that the substrate is getting attacked by the nucleophile first, it is going to be called as nucleophilic addition reaction, right? So what I understand from this is that it is going to be first H plus, which is going to attack this compound. Okay, and that is why we call this as electrophilic addition. And in this case, it is going to be Cn minus, which is going to attack first. That is why we are calling it as nucleophilic addition reaction. Okay, now so much details, right? Anyways, now we don't have to worry about this. Don't worry about this. Okay, now coming to this, I told you that there can be two possibilities, right? H going to first, Cl going to second, or Cl going to first, H going to second. Okay, now what is happening here, people? Now look at this. Okay, now for our understanding, let me write the compound again. I have CH2 double bond CH, CH3. Now first H plus comes because it is an electrophilic addition reaction. Okay, now please understand, people, I am going to use arrow shootings here. right? Now remember, the arrow shooting, not only in this reaction, for any organic reaction you will see, the arrow shooting, the arrow marks should be in such a way that it should start from negative to positive. That is how we should write. Okay, right? It should start with negative and it should go to the positive. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, now assume that this particular pi bond is undergoing heterolytic cleavage. Okay, one of the pi, there's only one pi bond here, and that pi bond is undergoing heterolytic cleavage. Okay, now say heterolytic cleavage, both are carbon atoms here, right? Now which side I should put, we will decide. We will take case A. This is one case. I will put it like this. Okay, now assume H plus is not there, assume it. Okay, now for now H plus is not coming. Okay, so now this carbon, I have two electrons here. Both these electrons are going to this carbon, and this carbon is losing its electron. CH2 plus is what I have. Single bond CH minus. No problem. I hope everyone is getting it. I have a heterolytic cleavage. Look at the arrow shooting. I'm putting it towards your second carbon. So second carbon will get the negative charge. First carbon has lost electron. So you will form a positive charge. The other CH3 is remaining as such. This is one possibility. The other possibility is CH2 double bond CH3. Now I can put the arrow shooting in such a way that the heterolytic cleavage in such a way that this carbon will get the electron. Okay, so can I write it like this? CH2 minus CH plus CH3. Does anybody have any questions from this, whatever I wrote now, the two possibilities? Anybody has any questions? Okay, I hope everybody is following. Right?
Sir?
Yeah, go on.
Sir, why doesn't homolytic cleavage take place in this case?
Depends. I told you, it depends on the reaction, right? Now you see that there are charged species in the reaction, right? I have H plus, Cl minus, and all that, and the other case also H plus, Cn minus. Okay. Now please understand, free radicals, that is when I go for homolytic cleavage, free radicals are neutral species. They are not charged. Please understand. Right? Free radicals are neutral species. Obviously, when I have positive, negative, they will have more attractive force. Right? But a free radical being neutral will not be able to attract either of this, H plus or Cl minus, because they are neutral. Are you able to get the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. That's a good question. Good question. This is, see, organic, you will get crazy questions. Sir, why not like this? Why is it like this? Please do not hesitate yourself. Please do not. Whatever question comes to your mind, why is it like this? Why not like that? Why specifically this only? All that you can ask me, all that. Okay, right. So now we are understanding that there can be two possibilities of heterolytic cleavage. One, this carbon containing negative, the other carbon containing positive, and vice versa. Okay, now to this, I am putting H plus because I told you obviously it is an electrophilic addition. So H plus comes first. Okay, obviously H plus will attack, opposite is attract. Positive will attract the negative, negative will attract the positive, whatever it is. Right? Now I told you the arrow shooting. Where is it? Arrow shooting. Where did I write arrow shooting? Arrow shooting. Very important point. Right? Arrow shooting should be from negative to positive. So how do I put it is, even though we say that H plus attacks the negative charge, I mean H plus attacks this molecule, but look at how am I putting the arrow shooting. I am putting the arrow shooting like this. Okay, I am putting the arrow shooting like this, negative to positive, negative to positive. In this case also, negative to positive. I should not put like H plus to this. No, this is absolutely wrong. Same way, you cannot put like this. No, this is absolutely wrong. It's not wrong. It's just that the conventions we follow in organic chemistry. It's always electrons which moves, right? Protons will not move. Electron moves and take up the positive charge. All right. Okay. Now, if this happens in the first case, if this negative charge accepts this H plus, this positive will be still remaining, right? CH2 plus CH2, or I'll write CHH for your understanding. Right? And what is remaining is CH3. Okay. Now you see that here, in this case, if this accepts the H plus, can I write CH2H CH plus CH3. Okay, right? Now the negative charge is gone. So this is my intermediate people. This two are my intermediates. And what are the intermediates? Sir? Can you tell me what are these intermediates? Name? Name means not, I'm not talking about IUPAC name. What type of intermediate are they? What type of intermediate? Carbanion?
Cation.
Carbon is having a positive charge. So this is going to be a carbocation. You can ask me, sir, carbanion is also formed, but that is not going to be there for a longer time. The moment this forms, H plus is going to attack this. Okay, these are the intermediates. Carbocation is the intermediate. Okay, now you see that here you form a carbocation, here you form a carbocation. These two are different carbocations. Okay, now obviously what is the next thing which will come? The nucleophile, Cl minus, Cl minus. Okay, now again look at the arrow shooting people. I will put negative to positive, negative to positive, negative to positive. Okay, now
sir,
what would have happened? Yeah, go on.
Sir, here, why don't we just write it like C plus H2 and then CH2 and then CH3?
Sorry, come again.
Sir, instead of branching a hydrogen, can't we just like write it together?
Yeah. Why not? Why not? It will be CH3, CH plus CH3. It will be CH2 plus CH2, CH3. Yes, you can write. I am writing it just for your understanding.
Okay, sir.
Okay, it's not like it's a branch. It's what do you understand? If I write this as CH2, or whether I write it as CHH, or whether I write it as CHH, all these are same. What you have to understand, two hydrogens are attached to this carbon. That's what you have to understand.
Okay, sir.
Okay, right. Good. Let me rub all this. Okay, so now if Cl minus attacks this carbon, right? If Cl minus attacks the positive charge, what you would have gotten? CH2Cl, CH2. Now you want it like this, CH2, right? And CH3. Okay, now this one would have formed what? CH3, CH2H is CH3, CH, Cl, and CH3. Okay, now we'll go back to the products which we have predicted previously. Now you see, again, CH3, CH, Cl, CH3, CH2Cl, CH2CH3. These are the compounds which I got exactly. Two possibilities, right? Again, you will see that this is the major product and this would have been the minor product. Okay, now how do I decide this? How do it, like, even though I don't perform the experiment, okay, I will still be able to predict that this will be the major product and this will be the minor product. Theoretically, we'll be able to predict. How is based on this intermediate which is getting formed here. Okay, you have both are carbocations, but both are two different carbocations. I would tell that this carbocation is more stable. So this carbocation has more probability of getting formed, more probability of getting formed compared to the previous one. Getting formed, right? Now this carbocation is unstable compared to this carbocation, right? This carbocation is stable. This carbocation is little unstable. So the probability of this carbocation formation is little less compared to this. Okay, so this will be formed in more amount. Obviously, there is a positive charge that only will attack the Cl minus to form this as the major product. Okay, so even though you understand that the carbocation is the intermediate, but there can be two choices of carbocation. The one which is more stable is getting formed, and that product corresponding to that intermediate. This is the intermediate, right? This is the product corresponding to the intermediate. That will be the major product. Okay, so you understand, right? Studying the intermediates are very, 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 very important. Theoretically, we'll be able to do it just by looking at this and looking at this. Obviously, this is more stable, less stable, more probability, less probability, major product, minor product. I hope everything, all the dots are getting connected. Now, the question you should ask me, what is the question you should ask me now? Tell me. What is the question you should ask me now? I am expecting a question. What is the question? Nobody is able to think of any question? Okay. If
Sir,
go on.
will there be any reaction with the major and the minor product?
No, nothing. That is fine. This is the final products. That's it. Okay. The question I was expecting is, sir, you are telling me that this carbocation is more stable. Why? Why is it more stable? Why is this less stable? That was the question I was expecting. Both are carbocations only, right? Why is it that one carbocation is more stable and the product corresponding to that is the major product? Okay. And why is it that this carbocation is unstable? And obviously that is the minor product. Why minor, why major? We understood. Why is this the major product? Why is this one the minor product? We understood because the corresponding carbocation to the major product is more stable than corresponding to this carbocation. Now, why is it more stable or how is it more stable? That is the question we need to answer. Okay, for that only we have some tools. Okay, we have some tools in organic chemistry, right? Which I'm going to use, apply them here and prove it to you that this carbocation is more stable than this carbocation, right? And those tools I'm going to speak about, right, are going to be the backbone of organic chemistry. Whatever the tools I'm going to teach you now, it is not only for carbocation, it can be used for deciding basic strength, acidic strength, carbanion stability, free radical stability, right? Say if at all I have two different free radicals, right? Again, whichever is more stable, that will be formed and the product will be corresponding to that major product. Right? So in all these cases, people, you have to know the stability of all the intermediates. See, please understand, in a particular reaction, there will not be a case where one way you are forming a carbocation, the other way you are forming a carbanion. No, like that. Right? If there is a possibility, I can have two types of carbocation like this, or two types of carbanion, or two types of free radical. One free radical, one carbanion. No, that will never, ever happen. Right? You cannot even speak like this. Carbocations are more stable than carbanions. Stupidity. Free radicals are more stable than carbocations. Stupidity. You can compare two carbocations or three carbocations, or you compare only carbanions, or you compare only free radicals. Why? Because in a particular reaction, only one of them can be formed, not all three, or not one, not two, only one. Only one of the intermediate can form. Right? I hope you are all able to get this. Let me drink some water and come. Just give me a moment, people. I'll be back. Okay, all right. So are you ready? Are you ready? How do we decide that this carbanion is more stable or that carbanion is less stable than this carbanion? Are you ready for studying the tools? No, I am not ready. There's a mixie going on in my house. Okay, right. So we are going to look into determination of stabilities of all the intermediates. First, okay, stability of all the intermediates possible, that is carbocations, carbanions, and free radicals, right? So two different carbocations, two different carbanions, two different free radicals. How will you decide which is more stable, which is less stable, is what you're going to see. All right. Okay. So I told you the tools which we are going to use are what are called as electron displacement effects. Okay. Right. So the tools which you're going to use are what are called as electron displacement effects. I would say this should have been the main topic. Okay. Under this, one of the things which you can use these tools for is for determination of stabilities of intermediates. Right. Now, this electron displacement tools can be used to decide the acidic strength. Right. If I give you two carboxylic acids, say if I give you HCOOH and CH3COOH, I can ask you which is more acidic. Again, you can use these tools to decide, okay, so HCOOH is more acidic. Right. Okay. So, or I can use basic strength. Or I'll be able to decide the basic strength. Say I have amines, right? Now, say if I compare ammonia with an amine like this, nothing. Here I have 3 hydrogens, 1 hydrogen replaced by a CH3. Right. Now I will be able to tell that CH3NH2 is more stable, more basic. Right. CH3NH2 is more basic than ammonia. Again, I'll be able to tell this. Or the third thing which I'll be able to use is that for determination of stabilities of different intermediates. Okay. So I would say this is the main topic. Right. Under this, you will be able to see so many things. Okay, fine. The tools, electron displacement effects. Let me make the table. Let me make the topic as electron displacement effects. Okay, right. Electron displacement effects. Under them, the first effect we are going to study is inductive effect. Okay, we are going to study about inductive effect. Okay, now what exactly is this? Right, now please understand, people, this can happen only if I have polar bonds in the picture. Polar bonds in the picture. Okay, this inductive effect can come into the our story only if I have polar bonds in the organic compound, in the substrate we are talking about. Right, say for example, I can have CH3, CH2, CH2, Cl. Okay, right. Now we know that this CCl bond is polar because there is a high electronegativity difference. Chlorine is more electronegative, carbon is less electronegative. Right. I know what is going to happen. Right. I know that this bond is going to get polarized in the sense that these two electrons will be more towards chlorine and little away from carbon. Is it not? More towards chlorine and little away from carbon. So can I tell this will get a del minus, this will get a del positive, partial positive and partial negative? We have seen it 1,000 times. Right. Now, this chlorine is very, very highly electronegative, that it will not be, not only that these electrons are getting attracted, even the electrons which are here, they can also get attracted. Okay, even the electrons are here, they can also get attracted, but not as much as in this case. Obviously, these are very close to the neutral, very close to chlorine, so they will have more effect pronounced. Right, this two electrons will have little lesser effect, in the sense that this carbon will also have a partial positive, but that partial positive will be lesser than the partial positive here. Del plus is lesser positive, del plus is more positive, because this electron cloud is very far away from this carbon, but this electron cloud is little towards chlorine and little away from carbon. Right, and the same thing can happen with this electrons also. Right, people. So I'll write del plus. That means it's very small. Right, and obviously after some carbon atoms it is going to become 0. Obviously you understand that this effect, what is happening here, is going to diminish after 3-4 carbon atoms. Okay, now this is what is called as inductive effect, people. Right, because of one group present here, right, because of one electronegative atom present here, okay, at least this carbon getting affected, okay, but because of this, so many carbons are getting affected, induced. Right, because of this, there is some partial positive charge induced in all of these carbons. Okay, that is what is called as inductive effect. Okay, now in this case, you are seeing that this chlorine atom is behaving as an electron withdrawing group. It is withdrawing electron from carbon. Okay, now there can be a case where something is able to give electron to carbon, not like in form an ionic bond. That would be some other group, less electronegative atom than carbon, that will be able to donate electrons. Okay, now this inductive effect can be of two types. We understood what is inductive effect, right? Because of one polar and high electronegative atom, or say less electronegative atom, there will be shift in the electron clouds, and that is good. That is going to affect not only one carbon, but almost 3-4 carbon atoms next to it. Okay, that is what is called as inductive effect. Okay, now this inductive effect can be called as, can be of two types. One is what is called as plus I effect. Okay, and another one is what is called as minus I effect. Now, please understand, people, for both of them, we talk with respect to carbon. Please understand, right? We talk with respect to carbon, not to the group attached to carbon. We speak only with respect to carbon. Okay, so when I say plus I, means electron density on carbon increases. Plus means increase. Okay, the electron density on the carbon will increase if I have a plus I effect. Okay, same way, minus I effect means electron density on carbon decreases, right? Can I call this particular case as a minus I effect? Is it not? What is happening to carbon electron density? It is moving away from carbon. So the electron density on carbon is decreasing. So this is a perfect example for a minus I effect, because the electron density on the carbon is decreasing, right? Okay, fine. We understood that we are talking with respect to carbon. Okay, to carbon, what kind of group is attached? Again, I repeat, to that particular carbon, what kind of functional group or a group is attached decides whether it is going to have plus I or minus I effects. Okay, so to a carbon, I'm talking about plus I, to a carbon, if you have an EDG, EDG is a short form for electron donating group. Okay, EDG is electron donating group. Right, so electron donating group means it is going to donate electron to carbon, so the electron density on carbon increases, so plus I effect. I hope everybody gets this. Okay, now minus I effect will happen if you have a carbon attached to an electron withdrawing group, EWG. EWG is electron withdrawing group. Okay, so what will happen if I have an electron with the drawing group like chlorine, for example? This will remove, say, this will try to take away electron from carbon. So the electron density on carbon decreases. So minus I effect. All right. Okay. Now we have to understand what are all the different electron with the drawing groups. What are all the different electron donating groups. If that I understand, then I can understand what is plus I and what is minus I completely. Okay. Now, people, electron donating groups, for now, you have to understand only one thing, right? All alkyl groups, right? All alkyl groups are electron donating in nature, in the sense that if you have a CH3 group, right? For I have a carbon which is having a CH3, that means it is going to donate electron to this. Okay. Or when I have, say, any alkyl group for that matter, say I have a carbon which is attached to C2H5. Right, again it will be electron donating. The C2H5 group is an electron donating group. The CH3 group is an electron donating group. Okay, so all alkyl groups are electron donating in nature. Okay, right, you have to remember this, people. This is a very important point. All alkyl groups are electron donating in nature. I can say R. Any R is an electron donating group. R is an alkyl group. CH3, C2H5, C3H7, it can be anything. All right. Okay. Now, electron with the drawing group, which will give me minus I effect. Okay. Electron with the drawing group is obviously any electronegative atom. Cl, F, Br, say OCH3, another group, right? Again, oxygen is there. Electronegative, okay. Then I can have, say, OH minus or OH in general, right? Any of this, say if I have a COH bond, another 3 carbons are there, obviously. Now what will happen to this? Obviously the electron density will be more towards oxygen. So the electron density will decrease. So minus I effect. Okay, right? So these, yeah, go on.
Sir, even aldehydes and acids?
Yeah, see, it can be anything. For example, if I have CH3, CH2, C double bond OH. Okay. Now you have to ask me to with respect to which carbon are we speaking about, right? If I speak about this carbon or this carbon for that matter, right? Both of these carbon, because of an oxygen present, the electron density will be decreasing. Electron density will be decreasing. Electron density will be decreasing also, right? So definitely yes, they will give me minus A effect. Are you able to understand?
Yes, sir. But what will happen in the case of acids?
See, it is better not, I would say it is better not to consider minus I or plus I effects in case of aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylates. It is there. Okay, see, for example, if I write CH3, CH2, C double bond OOH, right? Yes, I would say that this entire group is a minus I group because it is going to pull electron towards this carbon because I have oxygen and oxygen. Right? So the electron density on this carbon decreases, electron density on this carbon decreases. So yeah, minus A effect. Right? But not a good way to speak about this. We will see how are you going to speak about when you go for carboxylic acids.
Sir?
Right? For now, yes, you can understand it as minus I. Yes, go on.
Sir, over here, can we say that the minus I effect in case of carboxylic acid is more than that of OH?
I understand why are you asking this, because I have two oxygen atoms here. I have only one oxygen atom, right? Yes, for now you can speak like that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, right. Now that's a good area to speak about. Okay, don't worry about, okay, fine. Now if I talk about electron withdrawing nature, electron withdrawing power, I call it. Okay, electron withdrawing power, how powerfully it will be or how effectively it will be able to pull electron. Basically, I'm talking about minus A effect. How effectively it can cause minus A effect is definitely directly proportional to the electronegativity of the atom. And also, I will also speak about the number of EDGs. Right? If you have, say, 2 chlorine atoms, that will have more electron withdrawing power than only one chlorine atom. Right? And if I compare, say, F and Cl, obviously F will have more electron withdrawing power than chlorine because fluorine is more electronegative. Right? All these things can come into the picture. Okay, all these things can come into the picture. Same way, if I talk about the electron donating power, that is, I'm talking about alkyl groups, electron donating power. Okay, this is directly proportional to size of the alkyl group. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if I compare the electron donating power of C2H5 with CH3, C2H5 will have more electron donating power than CH3. Same way, it will have more electron donating power than C3H7. I mean, C3H7 will have more electron donating power than C2H5. So as the size increases, of the size of the alkyl group increases, the electron donating power also increases. Okay, and people, please need to understand, electron donating group, electron withdrawing group, plus I, minus I, everything is okay. But the position of the electron donating group and electron withdrawing group is also very important. You can just make a note of this. Note that position of EDG or EWG with respect to any carbon is also very important. Now, why am I telling this is because let me take this example which we took here. Okay, now this chlorine is attached to this carbon, right? This chlorine and carbon atoms are attached. So you see the amount of positive charge here. Here I have more positive charge. But when I move little away from chlorine, you see that the positive is decreasing, right? So, but if I rewrite the compound like this, CH3, CHCl, CH3, now this compound would have had the maximum positive charge and these two carbons would have had little lesser positive charge, right? So that is what I'm telling. If the electron donating group is attached to which carbon, that is also very, very important. Okay, that is why we mentioned that position of, note that the position of the functional group, that is the position of the electron donating or electron withdrawing group, is also very, 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 very important. Okay,
So
anybody has any questions regarding inductive effect?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, could you explain how the electron withdrawing power is directly proportional to the number of electron donating groups?
Okay. Now, for example, okay, now I'll take these two compounds. Okay, now you see, this is an electron withdrawing group. This is also an electron withdrawing group. There is only one electron withdrawing group here, one EWG. There are two EWGs, isn't it? Right? Say, I will talk only with respect to carbon connected to the chlorines. Okay, this carbon and this carbon. Okay, now say, if I tell del 1 positive, and if this is del 2 positive, if I ask you which is greater, this is del. Okay, del 1 positive, del 2 positive, which is greater?
Del 1.
Obviously, because there are two electron withdrawing groups withdrawing from both sides, but here I have only one. That's what I told you. The number of electron withdrawing groups also matters.
Sir, but you've written number of electron donating groups.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, number
Okay,
of
sir,
electron.
understood.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the writing mistake. This is the number of electron withdrawing groups. Okay, right. In here also it's the same thing. Okay, it is also directly proportional to the number of electron donating groups. That also matters. Okay, right. Fine. Now this is the entire picture I wanted to give you for inductive effect. Okay, now we will use this particular tool, that is inductive effect, we will use to decide the stabilities of the intermediates, that is carbocation, carbanion, and free radical. Okay, now the most important point about inductive effect is that how do I decide stability? Stability with respect to inductive effect only. Okay, how do I decide the stability with respect to inductive effect is that the stability is inversely proportional to the amount of charge I have on the molecule. I am not talking about partial charges, people. I am not partial charge. I am not explaining this. That is not the case here. If we are talking about carbocations, carbanions, free radicals, obviously carbocations and carbanions are charged species, right? So lesser charge, more stability is what I'm telling. Or you can understand that generally neutral compounds are more stable than charged compounds, right? That is obviously true because neutral compounds are not going to react. They're going to be there, right? And charged compounds will try to get attracted towards an opposite charge and get stabilized, right? So that is why we say more and more the particular species is towards neutrality, not exactly neutral, towards neutral. That is lesser charge. Okay, that compound or that species becomes more stable. This is a very, very, very important point. Okay, stability is inversely proportional to the amount of charge when we use inductive effect. Okay, people, this is the criteria for stability with respect to inductive effect. Very, very important point. Right? So all you have to understand is what is plus I, what is minus I, what are electron donating groups, what are electron withdrawing groups. How we are going to decide the stability based on inductive effect, that is this. Charge and stability are inversely related. Okay, now if these pictures are clear, right? If these pictures are entirely clear, now we will go to the thing which we are actually supposed to do. Okay, so let us decide stabilities of carbocations. Okay, before that, I want you to understand that there are certain types of intermediate. The types of intermediate in the sense not like carbocation, carbanion, and free radical. I would say any of them. Right? Any of the intermediate, whether you have a carbocation or a carbanion or a free radical, people, they can be classified into few types. Okay. Okay, one is what is called as primary, and the representation is 1 degree. Okay, primary is the name, 1 degree is the representation. Okay, or they can be secondary, and the representation is 2 degree. Okay, or they can be tertiary, and the representation is third degree, right? Now I can have an allyl carbocation. I mean, allyl intermediate, ALLYL, okay, ALLYL, or I can have a vinyl intermediate carbocation, carbanion free radical, right? Or I can have a phenyl, or I can have a benzyl, okay, right? Benzyl carbocation, benzyl, phenyl, all these things are different terminologies. Okay, again, allyl itself can have primary, secondary, and tertiary, right? Primary, secondary, tertiary is a general terminology, right? Again, under allyl I can have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Under phenyl I can have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Do not worry about this. Okay, but for now we are going to concentrate only on these three. Okay, now when I go to the other tools, that is when you have resonance, hyperconjugation, all those, so coming later, there we will try to understand what exactly is happening here. Okay, for now we are going to concentrate on primary, secondary, and tertiary intermediates. Okay, that means I can have a primary, secondary, tertiary carbocation, primary, secondary, tertiary carbanion, primary, secondary, tertiary free radical. Okay, we are going to decide the stability, which is more stable, whether a tertiary carbocation is more stable than a secondary, or a secondary is more stable than primary. All these things we'll try to understand. Okay, for that we have to understand what do you mean by primary, what do you mean by secondary, and what do you mean by tertiary. Is it not? That first you have to understand. Correct? Okay. Now, when I say primary, we are talking about the free radicals, carbocations, and carbanions. Okay. Now, what is primary? Is carbon containing the charge or the radical, okay, is attached to only one other carbon atom. That is the exact way of putting it. Okay, the carbon atom which is containing the charge, either the positive charge, negative charge, or the radical, right, is attached to how many carbon atoms is what you have to look at, right? If it is attached to only one other carbon atom and all the others are hydrogens, right, that becomes a primary intermediate or a 1 degree intermediate. Same way, how do I define secondary or second degree? Is the carbon containing the positive or negative or a radical is attached to two other carbon atoms, right? Then it becomes secondary or 2 degree intermediate, second degree intermediate. I'll give you examples, don't worry. Right now, when I look at tertiary, right, this is a case where I have carbon atom which is containing the positive charge or the negative charge or the radical is attached to 3 other carbon atoms. Okay, it is attached to 3 other carbon atoms. Okay, if I have to give you example, right, say this is a perfect example for a primary carbocation. Okay, this is a perfect example for a primary carbocation because you see, this is the carbon containing the positive charge. Carbon containing the charge is attached to only one other carbon atom. This is this carbon atom. Only one carbon atom. This carbon which is containing the positive charge is attached to how many? If it is 1, it is primary, right? Or if I can give an example for a secondary, very simple, CH3, CH plus CH3. Now you see the carbon containing the functional group, carbon containing the charge, either positive, negative, or neutral, is attached to 2 other carbon atoms. So this I will call it as a second degree or say secondary carbocation. This can be even positive, negative charge, or this can be even radical. Okay, now maybe we can even write that also. This, if I write it as CH3, CH2 minus, this becomes a primary carbanion. Okay, and if I write CH3, CH2 dot, this becomes a primary free radical. I hope everybody gets it. Okay, next, same way, this is a secondary carbocation. second degree carbocation. But if I exchange it with the negative charge, CH minus CH3, now this becomes a secondary carbanion, right? Or if I write CH3, CH dot CH3, right? This becomes a tertiary carbanion. Sorry, tertiary free radical. I'm so sorry, people. Okay, now let us go for an example of a tertiary carbon atom, tertiary carbocation or a carbanion or a free radical. I hope everybody is taking this down. Okay, these are the examples I can have. Okay, now say if I look for tertiary, say this is an example, CH3C plus CH3CH3. Now you see the carbon containing the positive charge or negative charge or the radical is attached to 3 other carbon atoms. Attached to 3 other carbon atoms. So this is going to become a tertiary carbocation. Right? Or if I write CH3C minus CH3CH3, this is going to become a tertiary carbanion. Or if I write CH3C dot CH3, again this will become a tertiary radical, free radical, obviously. Okay, right? Anybody has any questions? Or if I let me ask. Okay, now okay, if I ask you, say 1, 2, and 3 are carbocations. Okay, can you tell me which is primary, which is secondary, which is tertiary?
So the
They're in
first one
same
is
order.
primary.
Yes, absolutely right. This carbon, I told you, when I just put a line like this, that's a methyl group, CH3. That's it. Okay. Now this CH3 is having the positive charge. Now you have to look at with how many carbon atoms this carbon atom attached. There is only 1 carbon atom. That's it. So this is a primary carbocation. This one, second one,
Secondary.
secondary. Now you see, this is the carbon atom having the positive charge. It is attached to 2 other carbon atoms. Secondary. Right. Now this is definitely tertiary, people. Is it not? This is the carbon atom having the positive charge. 1, 2, 3. 3 carbon atoms attached. So this is a tertiary carbocation.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, if a functional group is attached, then it's not counted, right?
No. For example, we have to speak only with respect to the carbon atoms. Okay. Okay, now this is a positive charge which I have, or if say every time we take positive charge, this time let me take a negative charge. Okay, now this is still primary only. Why? Because this carbon atom which is having the negative charge, it has to only 1 carbon atom. This is not a carbon atom. No. So still primary only. Okay, Subrajit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is the time we have?
Sir,
Yeah, Raghav. Yes, go on.
so can you move this?
Yeah.
Sir, can you show those examples?
Examples. Yeah, sure. Let me make this small for you so that you'll be able to see everything. Yeah.
Sir, so here in the second example for carbo, sir,
Your voice is
yes,
breaking, I guess.
for this am I heard now?
No. Your voice is breaking, Kanna. Can you put it in the chat box? I'll read the chat box.
Sir,
Okay,
yes, put it in the chat box.
Okay. Is second example correct? Carbanion. Okay, let me check. Carbanion is secondary, which is here. Yeah, correct only, right? CH3, CH minus, CH3. Correct only. Is he asking this only or anything else is he asking? I'm not sure. Okay, Raghav, did I clear your doubt?
Sir, am I heard now?
Yeah.
Sir, so shouldn't it be like CH3 minus CH2?
Which one? This one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what are you telling? CH3 minus, okay, then?
No, sir. CH3,
Okay, CH3,
then CH2 and CH2 and minus on CH.
minus on CH2, this one,
Yes, sir.
and CH3. Okay, now people, right? Now, only when you break a bond, you will be able to form an intermediate. Okay, only when you break a bond, you will be able to form an intermediate. Now you see that for this particular carbon which you wrote, okay, 2 hydrogen atoms, 2 carbon atoms, tetravalency satisfied. Is it not? Then how can you put a negative charge here? Right, when already 4 atoms are present, why will you put a charge? It is neutral, right? But if I remove a H plus from this, let me remove this, right? If I remove a H plus, minus H plus from this carbon, now what will happen? I will form CH3, CH minus CH3. If I have to show you exactly how it is happening, other 3 bonds, don't worry about it. 1 hydrogen, this is how it breaks. You will form this one. Yes, Raghav, is it fine? Raghav?
Sir, then
Yeah.
according to this, your second example, it should come CH2, right?
In the second example means this one, or where?
No, sir. On the right hand side, where you
On the
wrote
right hand, the tertiary, or
carbanion
the tertiary,
radical.
okay. Tertiary,
Yes,
this
sir.
one.
Yes, sir.
This one. Why not? Like this carbon has only 3, right? 1, 2, 3. Only 3 carbon atoms. No other things are there. Still tetravalence is not satisfied. Yes.
It has to be CH. It actually has to be CH, right?
Correct. This has to be, would have been a CH, but that H plus is removed to form a negative charge. That's why it's a carbanion. Yes.
Sir, if something gains, only we put negative, right?
Something gains what?
So he
What should I
get
gain?
hydrogen.
No, wait. For me to put a negative charge, what should I gain? What should I gain?
Electron.
Electron, absolutely. Right now, what is happening here? If I had a CH bond, this, some other things are there, whatever. Now, both the electrons are going to go to what? Carbon, right? Both the electrons are going to carbon. So obviously, carbon would have had a negative charge now because it is gaining electron, right? And obviously, H plus comes up because it has lost electron. Yes. Right. So there
Okay,
would
sir.
have been a CH
Yes.
bond that would have undergone heterolytic cleavage to so that the carbon accepts electron and the H lost electron. So the carbon will get a negative charge.
Okay, sir.
Are you clear or you still want me to explain? You can ask me if it's okay. It's completely all right. Did you understand fully?
Sir, can you like explain the whole process from the starting?
Nothing. Like we are talking about the intermediates. Please, okay, first understand people. Now, any intermediate which we have spoken till now, right, is a result of bond breaking. Okay, is a result of bond breaking. Now, how the bond breaks, there can be two types, homolytic, heterolytic. We know how homolytic works. We know how heterolytic works. Correct. Now, say if heterolytic, there can be two possibilities, right? Say I have a CH4. Okay, I'll write it as CH3H. Okay, another molecule also I write CH3H. Okay, now if I break the bond like this, or if I break, this will never happen. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. What will you form here? This bond is broken now. You would have formed CH3 minus, and in this case, you would have formed CH3 plus. Right? So all you have to understand is no intermediate. Okay, no intermediate will have tetravalency satisfied. No. Okay, all of them will have one atom less, right? Or if this have undergone homolytic cleavage, now how I would represent it? Half arrow, you would have formed CH3 dot. Right, all of them same formula, except that how the bond is breaking, accordingly I will give negative, positive, or a radical. And that's exactly what is written in all these cases. Right, instead of these three hydrogens, I have given different groups. That's it. That's the only thing here. Yes, Raghav, is it fine now?
Yes, sir. So for that second example, can you write what was the initial compound before the reaction?
Sure. Say this is what we're talking, isn't it? Right? This would have been like this. Now, if I have to form a, I'll write it two times for you. Okay. Now I'm going to break the bond in such a way that the carbon gets the electron. So you would have formed CH3, C, CH3, CH3 minus. And if hydrogen is taking the electron, that is, we're going to go as H minus. Forget about what is going out. So you would have had plus, again, same formula, CCH3 thrice, CCH3 thrice, but one negative and one positive, depending on how the heterolytic cleavage happens. Yes, okay.
Yes, sir. So why don't we mention H minus?
We can, because it doesn't happen. Like this doesn't happen like this in reality. That's why I don't mention. You can mention H plus and H minus. Why not? Theoretically, yes, correct.
Okay, sir.
Okay, right. So basically, please understand, people, all the intermediates are coming from the bond breaking phenomena. That is why now for none of them tetravalency is satisfied. We should always write one atom less. You would have seen for all of them, right? If I just make you look at this, just observe whatever we wrote, right? You will understand that none of them will have all, like at least the carbon having the charge, positive, negative, radical, whichever is that particular carbon will not be tetravalency satisfied, will not have tetravalency satisfied. All of them will have one atom less. But they will have different hybridizations. Okay, we'll try to understand. Okay, what is the time I want to know? 12:50, last 10 minutes. Okay, so we are going to see hybridization of different intermediates. Okay, so let me take a carbocation. See, any one carbocation you take, all the carbocations will have the same hybridization, right? Say now I'll take the simplest of carbocations, CH3 plus. Again, you see CH4 should have been tetravalent. I removed one hydrogen to the positive charge. Okay, now I have CH3 minus and say I have a CH3 dot. Okay, I am going to decide these carbon atoms are, say, what are the hybridizations of these three carbon atoms possessing the charge? Okay, people, now you see that this carbon is having a positive charge, means it has only 3 valence electrons. 4 valence electrons should have been there, but now I have only 3. Okay, and in that 3, all the 3 are involving in bonding, so 0 lone pairs, no problem, right? Can you tell me what this is? 3 minus 3 will become 0. That means 0 lone pairs. There are no lone pairs on this carbon. Okay. So can I tell the steric number is 3? Because there are 3 bonding atoms. I know steric number formula. Steric number formula is number of atoms bonded to the central atom plus the number of lone pairs in the central atom. In this case, 0 lone pairs and 3 bonding atoms. Steric number 3. So can I tell that this carbon atom is sp2 hybridized? Yes or no, people? Yes, no? What happened? Everything is understood, right? Steric number is 3. If steric number is 3, I know it is sp2 hybridized.
Sir, all the carbocations will have sp2.
Exactly,
right?
irrespective of the 3 groups attached. If I have a positive charge, this carbon atom will be sp2 hybridized for sure.
So CH3 minus will have 3.
CH3 minus will have sp3. Yes, correct. We'll see that now. Okay, right. Now, if you look at this, carbon atom already have 4 electrons. Now, if I put a negative charge, that means it has 5 valence electrons. Out of the 5 valence electrons, 3 are involving in bonding with hydrogen, right? So definitely 2 electrons are left. That means 1 lone pair. 1 lone pair, right? So can I, if I calculate the steric number for this, 3 bonding atoms in form of hydrogen plus 1 lone pair I have. So definitely the steric number is 4. So this carbon atom would be sp3 hybridized. So I can conclude certain things. What can I conclude is carbocations in general, right? I would say in a carbocation, carbon containing the positive charge is sp2 hybridized. In a carbanion, the carbon containing the negative charge is sp3 hybridized. And you look at here. Okay, here I have no positive, no negative. That means carbon has 4 valence electrons. No positive, no negative, just a radical, no charge, right? 4 electrons, 3 are involving in bonding. I have 1 electron left, means no lone pair, people. There is no lone pair here. There is just 1 extra electron. Extra electron means 1 unpaired electron I have. It is not paired, right? So now if I take the steric number, I will take the steric number as 3 only, not 4, because this 1 electron you cannot consider as a lone pair. This is 1 single electron. Pair means 2, right? So steric number 3, again, you can tell that these are sp2 hybridized. So I have free radicals, right? That is carbon containing the radical is again sp2 hybridized. You have to remember this. Not remember this, you can, by practice it will come. Carbocations are sp2 hybridized. I mean, carbocations and free radicals are sp2 hybridized, whereas the carbanion is sp3 hybridized. These points will be very useful when you go for other things in organic chemistry. Okay, fine. So we will take up the next class from here, right? So we studied what do you mean by inductive effect. What are the different types of carbocations, carbanions, and free radicals, and what is the hybridization, and why are we even studying about this intermediates? You saw in that particular example I took, there can be 2 types of carbocations formed. One was stable, one was less stable. So the major product, whichever is formed in majority, is coming from a more stable carbocation. That is why we are studying about the stabilities of all the intermediates. Okay, anybody has any other questions to be asked?
Sir, how are the free radicals having sp2 hybridization?
Okay, sure. So this carbon is having just one electron extra, right? It is not a charge. This carbon has 4 valence electrons. That's what you have to understand, right? Out of these 4 electrons, 3 are involving in bonding with hydrogen, right? So how many electrons are left out in the valence shell? Only 1 electron is left out, right? I cannot consider this as lone pair. No, big no. Only 1 electron is there, that is just there. That's it, right? So there is no lone pair. So when I calculate the steric number, I will just take the number of bonding atoms, 3, no lone pair plus 0, right? So if you find steric number 3, obviously I know it is going to be sp2 hybridized.
Sir, if we have 1 electron, why can't we write it as a 1/2 lone pair?
Sorry, if I have 1 electron extra, then?
Why can't we write it as a half of lone pair?
No. 1 lone pair. Pair means 2 always. That's it. As simple as that. Right? See, even there are molecules like this. NO free radical is there. Okay. Now, if you check the number of bond pairs, number of lone pairs, and all that, I will not consider this as a lone pair. No, this is 1 electron unpaired. That's it. It's just there. Okay, we should not be considering this as any lone pair, half a lone pair, nothing. One lone pair, two lone pairs, only whole numbers. Okay, say if you do that, 3.5 if you get, what hybridization will give you? You will give it as SP 2.5. Doesn't make sense at all. Isn't it?
Sir. Yes,
right? Okay, good. Any other questions anybody has? Okay, guys, fine. We'll stop here. I hope everything is clear. Everybody is following. This is an entirely new thing which you're studying. Please do concentrate. Please do follow up before you come to the next class. Please study the notes before you come to the class, or else everything will be Greek and Latin. Be very careful. Okay. Thank you so much, people. We'll meet again. I'm ending the class.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.